In the beginning, there'd be very long stretches of time where there would just be basically nothing going on for business. I'd show up every day, doing my part, calling people, following through, knocking on doors every single day, and just nothing was coming back. I was fairly young at this time, 23, 25, 28, and there'd be long stretches of time when I'd wake up early, get ready for work, nothing would happen. And because I was younger and I didn't want to have to be so disciplined necessarily, I wanted to be able to stay up late and be able to watch movies and be a little bit irresponsible. But then when I would inevitably get the phone calls early in the morning. Hey, you ready to do something? You ready to get to work? I need a service call. I mean, a furnace, AC, whatever fixed. I'm sure you can relate at what young human being doesn't want to sit there and just have some fun. I'm talking about like staying up and watching your favorite movies. You know deep down you gotta get disciplined, you gotta go to sleep, you gotta go do what you need to do. I just wanted to be honest with you because I think the people that share their success stories somehow are able to clean all of that up and somehow maybe encourage themselves to work hard and to stay focused. That's also true, but it doesn't always give the complete story, the experience. What it actually feels like is you don't know if all the effort, all the time, and everything you're putting into this, the energy and all the sacrifices, you don't know if it's going to work out. You're working on faith in yourself, and often your faith is going to be tested with at least the absence of results. And I just had to keep making that decision that I was going to at least stick to it. Stick-to-itiveness. Have some vision. I was lucky enough to have natural, hidden talent for vision or faith in myself. But inevitably, the story does start to gain some traction, and there is a turning point. I'm going to tell you about my first sizable job, at least that time of my life. I was doing tons of flyers all over the place, and I get one phone call. One out of thousands of flyers. You would think you'd have better results, maybe two. But the one people that did call, they did hire me for a job. They hired me for approximately $4,800. That was for the furnace, the condenser, ductwork, flex, and some gas line and flue pipe all installed. When you would walk into this house, you could smell the cat urine from outside the house. When you walked inside the house, you could see that all the doors, all the windows was open. And they had been open for 2 weeks. And you would just go in there, and as a guy in a construction field, you get kind of immune to some of the smells, okay? But this place was on an extreme level. You walk in there, and it would choke you. And they're like, what are you talking about? It's not even bad. You should have been here when the carpet was still here. The place had been gutted. The wife, for 2 weeks, she was pouring Clorox bleach by the bottles all over the floor, all the windows, all the doors open the whole time. Nobody was scared about anything getting burglarized there because the burglars were not going to be strong enough to endure the smell. That job, oh, it was such a blessing to be in the attic the whole time. I was never so happy to get an attic job with all the flue and the heating and the air conditioning and the gas line and everything. What was really great and fantastic about that is it had never happened to me before. That was my first biggest job at the time. And then something shifted about how I thought about this whole process. It certainly feels good, and it certainly does help the confidence when you start to stack those little wins. Little wins on top of wins on top of wins on top of wins. Inevitably, when you do gain some confidence in business and success, people are going to be envious and jealous. Especially guys at church were tough on me in those years. Jealousy, envy is just the way I would describe it, just to easily convey the message, not a personal attack on them. But you kind of compared me, this, you know, successful business owner versus the guys playing video games for 10 hours a day. I was looking pretty cool. Me versus those guys, though, I was outcast. I was just pushed and pushed and pushed away. I would have really liked to have been part of the group. I certainly wanted, as a hardcore extrovert and somebody extremely lonely and so forth at the time, super insecure, definitely wanted to go hang out with the cool kids. But, you know, there comes a time and a point where the guys are competing with each other for the girls. This did have an impact, and it certainly changed how I thought about everything in my whole life. And then when I would get back, I'd just go right back to work and show up. As the months were going on, you could certainly see and feel a quantitatable, specific rise. You could certainly see where everything was just clicking together. In the very beginning of business, I want you to know, even though I was having the wins and I was having the accumulated confidence, the accumulation where it was taking a life of its own, I still wasn't making any money. No. Every time I would make even just a little bit of money, it all had to go back into the business. I was just buying tools left and right, all over the place. It never ended. As things really started to go, I certainly had something moving for me that I certainly didn't have in the beginning. And that was momentum. Like, follow, subscribe, comment. Tell me how this story resonates with you. Momentum feels completely different when it's coming from me personally rather than seeing it in other people. You can just feel it. You're so proud of yourself. Effort is knowing it's working, but you can't necessarily see the results. It's, as the Bible says, having faith in the things hoped for but not seen. Momentum is doing the work consistently, correctly for long enough and feeling the momentum. In the very, very beginning of the business, it's not about getting the customers. It's about becoming the contractor that the customers deserve. And I had become that person. And here's what I want you to take away from this. In the very beginning of the business, it's not about you making money. By design, those who will consistently show up even when nothing is working out for you, and can still hear the little voice in their head saying, quit, and still keep going. Can you sit with uncertainty long enough and then just be okay with it until the rewards catch up with your effort? And most people can't. It's not a judgment, it's just reality. I think that when we hear those stories about how 50% of all businesses fail within the first 5 years and then 90% of all businesses fail in the first 10 years, I think that the numbers are underestimating it, because how can they track the businesses that tried for an extremely short period of time, never even tried for licensing, insurance, workers' comp, or anything like it, just Joe Blow working out of the back of his truck, but he had no distinguishable paperwork for the government to know he even existed, but he quit before he really even got started. Don't be that person. If you're sitting here watching this video wondering if it's going to work out for you, I can't promise you that it is. I don't know your situation. I don't know your real power. I don't know if you're determined and strong enough to succeed. What I can tell you is that if I did not go through the extremely hard times, I wouldn't have anything now that exists for me. Keep showing up tomorrow. Comment where you're at in your little journey. I read all the comments. I reply to all the comments. Maybe even able to help you. Keep watching the videos because we're going to continue this series.